Yeah, and we don't want any resident going without water or heat.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7:30 and it is December 3rd. Would everybody please join me in getting this city council meeting to order and the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Judy, would you please call the roll?
Cannon.
Here.
Budmetz.
Present.
O'Brien.
Present.
Veneziano.
Here.
Besessi.
Here.
Diastis.
Present.
Sonoika.
Here.
With 7 present and nobody absent, there is a quorum. Therefore, members of the audience are reminded that these proceedings are being videotaped for current and future broadcasts over the city's cable television channel. At this time, I'll just open with the fact that this is an accelerated series of meetings giving the holiday, and I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving holiday. We had, of course, pictures with Santa over the weekend at Joel's Hallmark and at Reps. It was a great turnout at both establishments. And then we have the up-and-coming Christmas tree lighting and spaghetti dinner. So I hope everyone's going to join me in going there and celebrating the turning on of the lights. On another note, with this hasty schedule, I did have a resident approach me regarding the pace at which the G1 for one of the establishments has been hastily rushed through, not to their fault or circumstance, but due to the schedule of events, which is last week council meeting and then a change for December's meetings. And so I just want to remind everybody that we do take our time when making decisions, even when time is not on our side. And I also had that same resident ask me an interesting question about whether or not I received campaign contributions from businesses in the community while running for this position. And I let them know I didn't. I'm not comfortable accepting money. But I did receive some campaign contributions, and even if I were a voting member, the campaign contributions would not influence my vote. But I would like to remind the council that if anyone here on the council has accepted campaign contributions, that we are transparent with any of that when it comes time to vote on decisions that are made. And I just want to make a reminder with that. And to that end, are there any other ward reports this evening? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the next order of business, and that's going to start with open the meeting to the public. Can I see the sign-in sheet? Yeah, so we do have names on the sign-in sheet. So at this time, I'm going to read a brief disclaimer for those who will come up and speak. And in order to secure the rights of citizens of the city to a fair and just representation before their elected officials, and to guarantee the elected officials an order and dignified form in which to conduct the city's business, no person shall be allowed to engage in any activity that will disturb or disrupt the orderly proceedings of the council meeting. Per the rules of procedures, the public is to address the city council, and the fact that no member of the city council responds does not mean that the city council or any member thereof agrees or disagrees with the comment. Any person who seeks to address the city council at this time for public comments shall be permitted to speak only upon recognition from the presiding officer, and such person shall adhere to the following provisions. Each person addressing the city council shall state their name and their address for the record. At this point, your first name and street will do to protect your personally identifiable information. Questions and or commentary shall be limited to city business. Comments supporting or opposing a nominated person's candidacy for elective office of the city shall be out of order. Discussion shall take place in a professional manner which displays mutual respect, and profanity shall not be used in any form or manner. That said, the first name on the list is Charles.
Good evening, council members. My name is Charles. I am a resident of, I guess that would be Gough Street out here in Rolling Meadows. I'm the general manager for Nature's Care. We are a fully cultivated cultivation center as well as dispensaries. I wanted to just come up here this evening and just want to say thank you guys for all that you're doing so far, and then also to just say I'm here to represent the company and answer any question that may come up. And then the final thing I wanted to say is just hopefully clear up some of any misconceptions or anything that might be opportunity to clear up. I know from last week's council meeting that there was a concern from one of the residents regarding what would happen with recreational product versus the medical product. And I want to just reassure the council that the recreational product and the medical product is made out of the same cultivation center, under the same specifications, under the same restriction. It is heavily and tightly controlled, right? So there will be no variance. The only time there will be a variance is at the point of sales when we are dispensing that to a medical patient or a recreational patient. And then the other thing was, as it relates to security, our security is actually already really tight, but as it relates to recreational, we're actually stepping that up significantly. So I just wanted to reassure the council those couple of points I took away from last meeting. And then just say, I'm here if any questions. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next on this list is Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy. I live on Robin Lane. Obviously, you don't need to hear me talk about the misconceptions because somebody who knows a lot more is here to do that. But I just wanted to also say that the medical cannabis and the recreational cannabis would come from the same place and be regulated in the same way, and that the variances in THC you could choose with, like, if you want a high THC or a low THC or no THC, and but it's not a scary thing where there's going to be drug dealers on the street who aren't already there. And I think it'd be great to give people a safer option that is actually regulated, where you actually know what is in it, because on the label it says the percentage of everything that is in it. And like I said, one of my family members is a medical marijuana patient, so I'm familiar with the packaging and how it looks, and that's how it comes. So there's no reason to be scared of that. And the last thing I just wanted to say is that I think residents who live other places that are not Rolling Meadows should bring up with, say, Palatine, their own concerns about that, and leave the opinions to Rolling Meadows residents, because we're the ones who will have to live here and be under that law. So thank you.
Thank you. Next name is Linda.
Good evening. Linda Lyles Ballantyne, Executive Director with the Rolling Meadows Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber looks to the Council's support on the amendments and the special uses before you tonight concerning Bigby's, Leaky Kegs, Nature's Care, and Sally's. We have had meetings for well over a year that we started working with Leaky Kegs to try and find some options for them of places that they could come and open up their business within Rolling Meadows. We've also given them some financing options for their business as well that we've met with. And also with Nature's Care, we've met with them on possible expansion and other things that have to do with the community and with the chamber, and also with Bigby's that we've had meetings with them as well. And Sally's, we also look for your support for them coming in as well. So again, we just want to let you know that as a Chamber of Commerce, we are supportive of these 4 businesses, their initiatives, and what they're coming before you on this evening. So we hope it is well received. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the final name on the list is Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I live on Spring Willow Bay. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I am here on behalf of Nature's Care as a patient and as someone who works there. I became a patient there 2 years ago. I got diagnosed with interstitial cystitis, which is a pretty horrible disease, along with IBS. When I started there, I was on 8 different opiates. I had 13 different doctors. I had been in the emergency room over 31 times. Last year, I had been in the emergency room over 21 times. Since I have worked there, I got involved. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Take your time.
I had gotten involved, and it became a passion because once I had made the choice to get off the opiates and gotten my medical card, I, number one, had a completely different life because I could think clearly again. Number two, I was able to go from 13 specialists to 2 specialists, from 13 medications to 5 medications to date. I've been in the emergency room twice this year only. It has greatly become my passion to not only be a part of Nature's Care as a patient, but also to work there. Working there every day, 5-6 days a week, I am front line working with the people who come in there every single day. I get people who have cancer, who are dying, who are sick. These are people who are on opiates. These are people who are off opiates. These are people who were like me, who were sick, who cried, who lost support, who lost their family, their friends, because people don't do sick. We are a community here. I mean, we know them by name. We know them by when they walk in the door. We know them when they're having bad days and good days. We help. We are a village. We are a team. We help these people that come in here every single day. We changed their lives like they changed mine. So I've been doing this for 3 years now. It is my mission. I spread the word everywhere I can. I've been a nanny and a caretaker for 30 years, so I've raised kids, and I take care of seniors. So I left that to do this, and I'm a huge advocate for it. I cannot tell you how much my life has changed and how much I am changing lives every single day that people walk in. So I just want you guys to please continue to support us and know that everyone that walks in is getting the love and care that they need that they cannot find anyplace else. Because we do not fit into, there are no groups for us. We do not fit into AA, we do not fit into NA, we are sick. And we have a whole village of people out there that are trying to find a place to fit in. And we've brought that to this community. We've brought a village to this place. So thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the time for opening the podium for the public, and we will now resume with pending ordinances in for second reading. The first ordinance that we have here is to amend Chapter 6, Alcoholic Beverages of the Code of Ordinance to include microbreweries, microdistilleries, and micro-wineries. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Is there a second? Thank you, Alderman Cannon, for the second. Is there any discussion on this issue? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is adopted. Moving on to line item B, approved text amendment to City of Rolling Meadows zoning code of ordinances to allow microbreweries as a special use in the M1 manufacturing district, Leaky Keg Brewing, 5100 Newport Drive, Unit 7. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Thank you for the second, Alderman O'Brien. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? So will the clerk please call the roll?
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon. Bud Matts.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance too is adopted. Line item C, ordinance number 19-53, approve special use to allow a microbrewery in the M1 Manufacturing District, Leaky Keg Brewing, 5100 Newport Drive, Unit 7. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Thank you, Alderman Budmats. Is there a second? Thank you, Alderman Veneziano. Is there any discussion on this item? The question is, shall this ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
That makes 7 in favor and none opposed, so this ordinance too is adopted. Moving on, line item D, approve a text amendment to City of Rolling Meadows zoning code of ordinances to allow recreational marijuana cultivation and dispensing facilities as special use in the M1 Manufacturing District, Nature's Care, 975 Rowling Road. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien. Question is, shall this ordinance be adopted? Well, first, let me ask if there's any discussion on this before I get ahead of myself. Alderman Bessesi.
Yeah, I want to preface this by saying I'm ready to vote on this tonight. However, I am a little uncomfortable given that this has gone through our council in 3 weeks, basically, from cow to final approval over holiday week. I don't know if there was ample time for residents to express their feedback. I just wanted to say that makes me a little uncomfortable, and I would like to ask if anybody would want to postpone, if we could have a vote on postponing this an extra 2 weeks.
So are you making a motion?
Making
to
a
postpone?
motion to postpone for 2 weeks.
Okay. Is there a second to Alderman Bessesi's motion to postpone? Alderman Budmats?
I'll second
Made the
it.
second. Is there any discussion on the option to postpone?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Sonoyka.
although the residents in Ward 5 may not have reached out to Alderman Bessesi over the past couple of weeks, I have been in communications with my own residents since June regarding this issue. This was also an issue that first came up at a committee of the whole meeting in July. Therefore, we've had months to discuss this particular issue with our residents, so I will be voting no to postpone tonight.
Thank you. Further, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor Gale. I'm similar to Alderman Zanoika too. I've heard from 17 residents and I thank them. So based on their feedback and reaching out, I'm comfortable moving forward with a vote based on I feel that's ample feedback compared to other items I've received feedback on from residents, so I'm prepared to move forward.
Valid.
And
Alderman Bessesi.
yes, we first talked about the recreational cannabis in July. However, that was to approve and talk about if we were to do this, the level of taxes that we would have on that and approve that. It was not actually approving the cannabis.
Okay. Further discussion on that, or Alderman Budmats?
I don't see the harm in waiting 2 weeks. If residents want to reach out, I similarly looked for feedback from residents, and I received none from my ward. So if it's a great idea, it'll stand the test of time, and so I don't see a problem. I just would hate to have somebody come back to us after the fact and say that we swept it under a rug or pushed it through during a special session and didn't give it full consideration, especially being over a holiday week, that people might say that, it was like kind of slipped through. And so I don't want to give anybody mistakenly that impression that we accomplished that, or that was even our thought. So to avoid that appearance, I'll be voting to push it back 2 weeks for a final vote.
Thank you for that. I just learned and was reminded that we did, and I don't want this to influence anyone's vote in any specific way, but the Planning and Zoning Commission did hold a meeting back on October 1st to discuss this item at length, as well as a public hearing at that same time. Just a reminder of that. But if there's no further discussion on the motion to postpone, I will have the clerk call the roll on that vote, and we can see where that takes us.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis,
No.
Sunoika,
No.
Cannon,
No.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
No.
Veneziano.
No.
That makes 2 in favor of postponing, but 5 in favor to continue moving forward. So the motion to postpone fails, and we're back on the original ordinance here. Is there further discussion on the original? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the ordinance is adopted. That moves us on to ordinance number 19-55, approve special use to allow recreational marijuana cultivation and dispensing facilities in the M1 Manufacturing District, Nature's Care, 975 Rowling Road. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Thank you, Alderman Budmats. Is there a second?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Cannon. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the question is, shall this ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Sunoika,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is adopted as well. That brings us to line item F, ordinance number 19-56, amend the alcohol liquor code to approve a Class G1 liquor license for video gaming for Bigby's Poorhouse. It's the second reading, doing business Bigby's Poorhouse, located at 1649 Algonquin Road. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka, and thank you for the second. Alderman O'Brien, is there any discussion on this item? Again, I think for the sake of transparency, I would like any alderman who has received compensation to campaigns or what have you to be transparent with that. And if there is no discussion on this, the question is, shall this ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon,
No.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
No.
Sunoika.
Yes.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, this motion is adopted. That brings us to line item G, ordinance number 19-57, amend the liquor code to approve a Class G1 liquor license for video gaming for Sally's Restaurant located at 1913 South Plum Grove Road. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you,
Second,
Alderman
Mr. Mayor.
Sonoyka. Thank you, Alderman Cannon, for the second. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the question is, shall this ordinance be adopted? And will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
No.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
With 6 in favor and 1 opposed, this ordinance is adopted. Brings us now to line item H. Ordinance number 19-58, amend chapter 13 of the Rolling Meadows Code of Ordinances to establish an expiration date of December 31st, 2024 for Article 11 rental dwellings unless specifically extended by action of the City Council. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Cannon. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien. Is there any discussion on this item? Alderman O'Brien.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one resident reach out to me that is a property owner here, and I know we did discuss this at the COW meeting, is if we and city could look at extending hours for the inspections for the owners, is that they did say it is very difficult with the current ones for working professionals. And I know it was discussed, so I know it's on the list someplace, just they were wondering if we could expand hours or make Saturday hours available or something like that. They were in support of it. They were just wondering if we could look at the hours.
You know, obviously, we've had conversations, the city manager and myself, about potentially doing weekend hours, things like that. Currently, the hours are all during regular business
Right.
hours, so I know they're inconvenient for some people, but generally, the problem we've experienced in the past is related to, we can't always schedule the time specific, so it's a time period.
Sure.
So that's probably the concern, so.
Thank you.
I guess we will look into it.
Sure, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Alderman O'Brien. Is there further discussion on this item? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is adopted. That now brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent ordinances in for first reading. It consists of 2 items. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for ordinances?
I believe we still have to do bills on warrant. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, I'm skipping.
That's okay. I got ahead of myself earlier. It happens. So does any alderman wish to pull any one of these? Wonderful. Seeing none, then the chair declares it in order for one motion to consider 2 ordinances in one motion without debate. Is there a motion to consider the ordinances in for first reading?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Veneziano. Is there a second? Thank you, Alderman Bud Matts. Ordinance number 19-00, line item I, is authorized the disposal of surplus city property, vehicles, and equipment in for first reading. Line item J, ordinance number 19-00, amend City Code of Ordinances to prohibit the sale and possession of cannabis except as provided in the Cannabis Regulation Act to take effect January 1st, 2020. The question is, shall the ordinances be moved forward for second reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the ordinances will be moved forward in for second reading. Moving swiftly along to new business, there is a motion to approve payment of bills on warrant for December 3rd, 2019. Is there a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved.
Thanks, Alderman Sunoika. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alderman Veneziano. Is there any discussion on any of the payments of bills on warrant? Good. Seeing none, the question is, shall the warrant be approved? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Making 7 in favor and none opposed, the warrant is approved. Moving on now to the next item on the agenda, which are the consent resolutions. That now consists of 6 items, items L through Q. Does any alderman wish to remove any item from the consent agenda for resolutions? Alderman Sunoika?
Item Q.
Q. Others from any other alderman? That now makes this consent resolution sequence consist of 5 items, L through P. Seeing none, the chair declares it in order for one motion to consider the 5 resolutions in one motion without debate. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman
Second.
Sunoika. Thank you, Alderman Cannon. That now brings us to the first line item L, ordinance number, did I say ordinance? I'm sorry, I meant resolution. It's written ordinance. My apologies. Resolution number 19-R-124, approve agreement with Tactical Athlete Health and Performance Institute and the City of Rolling Meadows. Line item M, resolution number 19-R-125, award 1-year contract extension for landscape services, downtown Kirchhoff Road, and other city-owned sites. Line item N, resolution number 19-R-126, authorize the purchase of the city's fuel from Relodyne Fuel for the remainder of fiscal year 2019 through December 2020. Line item O, resolution number 19-R-127, authorize the purchase of water meters for replacements, repairs, and new construction for fiscal year 2020. And line item P, resolution number 19-R-128, award a contract for traffic signal maintenance for 2020. The question is, shall these 5 resolutions be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, those resolutions are adopted. This circles us back up to line item Q, resolution number 19-R-129. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Alderman Bud Matts has made it. Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka, for the second. Resolution number 19-R-129 is to approve city engineer services and compensation rates, a 3-year contract, February 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2023. Alderman Sonoyka, you had pulled this, so you have first go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to clarify with staff how we would go about conducting a cost comparison for these engineering services.
Related to, just to confirm, related to the rates offered, or to the retainer?
To both, if available. If we were to go with a different engineering services provider, then how would we compare the rates and the retainer?
I had an alderman contact me previous to the meeting, and we were able to provide cost comparisons to the rates. I'd be happy to share those with you at a later date. We were able to get hourly rates for eight different firms that we just put on a table to cost compare similar positions with our current, with the proposed rates that are being provided by our city engineer as compared to about 8 other firms. In regard to the retainer, it's a lot more difficult to compare those because each community's needs are different and what the expectation of the city engineer is different. For example, I won't name the community, but there is a community that uses Christopher Burke's service. However, the engineer, rather than doing kind of on and off again meetings and services, that person works 2 full 8-hour days per week, and they pay a $9,000 a month retainer. So we're at $2,500. So it just, every community's needs are related to what that retainer cost would be. So I'd be happy to do some research on that, but again, I don't think you'd be comparing apples to apples very often.
So then, if you were to go out and then have these types of proposals for another engineering firm, you would essentially be able to then compare apples to apples because it would be our community, but with the proposals with multiple other engineering firms providing an estimate.
Yeah, and again, if we were only looking at cost, but obviously when you select an engineering firm that's going to represent your community, you want to make sure that that engineering firm can meet all the needs of the community. There are several communities firms out there that do this type of work, but not all of them have the same services that the others do. So the cost proposal to me would be one factor to consider in selecting a city engineer. Yes.
I do appreciate that clarification from staff. At this point, when speaking with my residents, they are very concerned with every cost that we utilize, and since many of our projects and capital improvement projects utilize engineering services, I would feel more comfortable approving this contract knowing that we are looking at prices. If it's possible that there are other engineering firms that can do, like you said, this the same services for a lesser rate, or at least a less expensive rate. But I would like to see that data. So I would be willing to make a motion to postpone either to the next meeting, or if you require additional time for that type of a comparison.
And again, I certainly could do that. The one item I think is important to point out to the entire council is As it states in the memo, it's really critical at this point of time, given our entire leadership in Public Works has retired over the last several years, to not lose 20 years of experience on the capital projects that we currently have. We have several grant projects currently applied for that are halfway done. There's a lot of historical knowledge that we potentially could lose, and that's why I said again, the other alderman, I wish I should have sent this out to everybody had I known it was going to be a concern. We're talking about the differences of dollars, like dollars per hour, $1 here, $1 there, plus and minus. Those cost differentials are not going to amount to the value of their knowledge over the course of a year. And again, remember, every project that is regulated by the state or the federal government that any engineer does, those rates are not negotiable. So they are set by the state or federal government as far as what they can charge. So we can't even negotiate those rates. So I just want you to make sure you know that there's more to be lost in losing and changing city engineer than the value of the hourly rate.
Very well. And in that case, I will rescind my motion to propose and instead make a motion to amend this resolution to include that 3 months from today in March, on either the first meeting or at the committee of the whole, that staff will provide cost comparisons at the rate and the retainer level for a minimum of 3 other engineering firms.
Mm-hmm. That will not be a problem at all.
Okay. Is the March committee of the whole a okay?
As I
Soon enough
indicated,
to-
I have a lot of that information already. I just didn't provide it because it was a discussion that I had earlier today.
Okay, so then this is for a 1-year contract. So if we have that information by March, we can then have those conversations going forward for the renewal.
It's a 3-year contract with 1-year renewals. So again, the city council would have much like our landscaping contract, where it's a 3-year contract, but each year, at the end of that year, you have the ability to renew. So that's what we had proposed.
Manager Crumstock.
If this motion does go through, what I would ask is it not be put into the resolution, because the resolution is really just dealing with the contract. What I would say is we've heard, if that motion does pass, I would say maybe matters not on the agenda put it, because again, I would prefer to keep the resolution just dealing with the contract. Staff coming back, if that does pass, is a completely different issue than this.
Okay, so let me put it out there and just ask, is there a second to Alderman Sonoyka's motion to have 3 months from today in March of 2020 for staff to provide cost comparisons from at least 3 other vendors? There's a second, Alderman Diaz. It's pretty good. Is there any discussion on that particular motion at this time? Alderman Sonoyka.
I would like some clarification then from staff on the contract that we're voting on. So it's a 3-year contract with a 1-year renewal, which is to say that if we were to, through staff's investigations, determine that another engineering service provider or engineering firm would actually be a better fit for us going forward, is then that something we can pursue as early as 2021, or is this something that we can't pursue until 2024?
What I'm seeing is that the city engineering services is from 2020 through 2023, specifically to January 31st of 2023. And then what is being discussed is a 1-year renewal, which would bring it to January 31st, 2024. But we would have information, obviously, in 2020 if we're keeping Burke, or as this comes up, more discussion.
So, and I'll get to Alderman Diaz in 1 second, but then how does it work? Let's say if we secured this contract now for 3 years, but as early as March, we get competitive bids from other vendors, will this engineering firm that we have a 3-year contract with price match based on the new competitive pricing we get, or we're just stuck to pay the prices that we've contractually agreed upon, and we just know that we maybe lost some dollars, but we saved in institutional knowledge for
There's-
these capital projects going forward. What
Right,
is it that
and
we
there
get?
is, what I would say is you are correct, institutional knowledge goes a long way, but there is, at the bottom of, under capital improvements, it does have a mention, it is understood that this agreement may be terminated by either party upon 60 days written notice.
Yes.
And so we would terminate the contract, and my question then becomes the solidity of our overall relationship with the engineering firm moving forward, because then I think if we dissolve the contract, I think we might as well just start looking for a new engineer altogether, rather than trying to play this game of cherry picking when we use them. But I do agree with Council, with Alderman Sonoyka specifically, that we do need to be a little bit more ambitious when it comes to, competitive bids and being aware of what the prices are.
Again, I did have a conversation with an alderman earlier. I'm absolutely not opposed to doing that evaluation. There was an evaluation done early, I think 2012, 2014, somewhere in that time frame. Some of the other aldermen probably can remember better than I. Again, it's the time that we're having this discussion. Next year is going to be a critical year for our staff. We are implementing 3 different ERP modules. One is the entire community development operation. One is a work order module, which is basically an entire public works system. And then the third one is the utility billing component, which overlaps into the work order system. That on its own, not even considering all the bond projects we have to do next year, is going to be overwhelming for our department to then take on evaluating engineering services. I mean, personally, evaluating engineering services would be one of the biggest projects I did that year, or our department did that year. To try and take that on next year will be overwhelming to the department. That's why we proposed it in the way that we did. So,
Alderman Diastis, you had your hand up.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. There was a motion to postpone with a second. So does that take place
we're
on the
discussing.
matter?
Yes.
Okay. So the other question I have is, as I read this, it says it's a 3-year contract with annual renewal. Are they automatic renewals, or we just can't renew? Because the write-up says 2 1-year annual renewals. It doesn't say it's automatic. So that would leave me to believe that we could not do anything with it. And my third point was this contract, the new one would start February 1, 2020. I just checked my calendar. We do have another meeting December 17. And Director Robb, if you already got all the information, then we could easily postpone this for 2 weeks, give you time to get that information, not just to one alderman, but to all of us, and we could still have a decision made in more than enough time to renew, to sign a contract, since this one doesn't start till February 1st of 2020.
And I have to clarify, the motion to postpone was actually rescinded, so that's my
Oh, okay,
mistake.
okay.
But right now, we're on the topic where in 3 months' time from now, we would have competitive bids brought back to us. But if that doesn't make any progress with a vote, then we can go back and revisit postponing and discussing what you just brought up with the timetable here.
Then I guess, if I may, Mr. Mayor, then if Director Horn already has all the information, then it would be logical for us to postpone it for 2 weeks. He can get us all the basic information, which apparently one alderman has and seems comfortable with, and then we could just revisit this and revote on this on December 17th.
And we can do that, and what that'll take now is a quick vote, roll call vote by council to proceed with Alderman Sonoyka's they decline, and then we return back unless Alderman Sonoyka wants to rescind the motion again.
I am not going to rescind that motion, and the reason is because even if we have this information, based off of what staff is communicating to us today, it does not appear that we have the opportunity to even find a replacement at this point, whether or not we have this information within the next 2 weeks. We're still going to vote to have, or to continue this contract, given all of our other projects in the works. So as a result, I want to then have a roll call for my vote, or to review engineering services as they are. So Director Horn, if you're saying that that's going to be a significant project for you and staff, and 3 months isn't enough time, then we'll give you 6 months where we will revisit this, and then be able to determine if this is, or be able to compare these engineering services with other competitive engineering services.
So just to clarify, for us, March is not too long for us to put together the information that you requested to understand why we as staff feel like this is still a good deal for the council to consider utilizing the city engineer. What I'm talking about is the evaluation of engineering services to consider changing the city engineer. That process, the RFQ process, means I have to publicize that. We have to put an RFQ out to many different engineering firms. We have to evaluate all those engineering firms. We have to have interviews with those. That is a very exhaustive and time-consuming project. That part of it is what would be difficult to do next year. The item that you requested to do at Committee of the Whole in March, that's not a difficult thing to provide. So I just want to make sure we're clear on what the two different things are.
Okay, so then for my clarification, and for everyone else, so they know what they're voting on, then they're voting on the comparison of at least 3 different proposals or comparisons for other engineering firms for comparative services, and then also a cost comparison for each of the services by rate.
Rate and retainer.
Yes,
That's
rate,
what I have
rate
taken.
and retainer.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I have taken based on the services provided.
Correct.
Correct. I can provide that.
So before I call a roll call vote, is there further discussion? Alderman Veneziano?
Question for Director Horn. If we were to change engineering firms, I strongly hear you, next year is not ideal. Correct. I hear that strongly. Moving forward past next year, is there an ideal year for us as a council to look at the contract and say, ideally, maybe 2021 would be better to look at changing engineering firms?
I have 2 comments.
Mhm.
The first one is that would be something I would want to talk to the city manager about, because I don't know what we have planned in future years entirely. The other item would be, I would need some better direction from city council as to why we want to change the city engineer. I understand the pricing component, but if the pricing component kind of levels out and there's an acknowledgement that the pricing is not dramatically different, I would want to understand the benefit to the city of losing a 20-year service for a brand-new service. And again, as I think we talked in the last meeting or the meeting before, there are certain services the city has that they're not just contract low bidder, they're actually relationships you form. And, you know, much like our city attorney, the GIS consortium, and the city engineer, those are relationships you build over time, and to just lose that because of rates that are generally competitive, I don't, you know, my personal opinion would be it would not be a wise decision by the council, so.
Can I follow up to that?
Second bite.
So obviously this is not my area of expertise, so I'm gonna refer to you on this, that if you're advising the council that, you know, moving forward next year to change engineers is strongly not advised, as an alderman, I have to listen to your advice on this. And so I would say getting us numbers would be great so that we could go to residents and say, staff did their job and getting us comparisons, but taking with what you said, I can say to a resident, this is why we did this. So having those numbers I would agree with, but I would say, voting for renewing the contract.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bud Matts.
So I am the alderman in question who has a bunch of this information.
Just trying to protect you, Alderman.
And so, to expound on what you're asking for, I think it would also be very healthy for us to have information from other villages who are using Christopher Burke and find out the kind of rates that they're paying. So if we have relationships with other long-term Christopher Burke customers, such as ourselves, we could find out if we are in fact getting the greatest rates possible. Our legacy rate is, and is Rosemont, where Christopher Burke is located, getting maybe a slightly better deal. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're probably a larger customer as well. But I'd like to make sure that we're getting something that's fair and equitable in line with the amount of business that we give them. And then, so if we had that in this report in 3 months, that would be really helpful, so that we can come back to our residents and say, yes, we're getting a deal. I'm not looking to change for the sake of change or to ruin a 20-year relationship, but competition is good for every relationship. And I'm sure there are ways that Christopher Burke could use a lower grade of a lower applicable rate at certain times when they're doing projects. We don't have to have, Christopher Burke himself do all of to do our photocopying. And so, and obviously that's a gross exaggeration, but I'm just saying that if we're using the appropriate person for every project, so that we are saving whenever possible and providing that savings to our constituents, that would be great.
Perfect. We can certainly provide that.
Thank you.
Alderman Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am looking forward to getting that report in March. I think that will be helpful. I'd just like to say I had personal experience with Christopher Burke this year, working on my own street and the couple other streets in my ward, and they are very professional. I have nothing but good things to say about the way they handle themselves professionally. That said, though, in the past I've also brought this up, as I would actually like us to consider, and I hear what Mr. Horn's saying, so I understand next year is probably not a good time to do it, but with the amount of money we're paying just for street work, both reconstruction and repaving, we're paying Burke well over $150,000 a year. I sometimes wonder why we couldn't hire our own in-house engineer to do some of that work or all of it, just even on streets alone. I mean, I'm not trying to get rid of Burke, don't misunderstand. But I think all the things we talked about price-wise, I think we're all just concerned that we're getting a good value. And I really would like us to consider bringing our own person on board, man or woman, to work only on our behalf. Thank you.
Manager Krumstock.
Sorry, we're having our own discussion over here. So let me bring back part of the discussion. So again, I think that we've heard loud and clear that in 2020 we would be back. We will put the personnel discussion into it. It might now go past that March date because we need to do some of our own eval, but what I can tell you right now is, again, can we just deal with the resolution in front of you? I think that we heard that in March we would be back with part of it, but then we need to continue with some of our other discussions with the personnel and some of the other pieces. So during 2020, this is going to be a stage with this. And again, we feel comfortable with the resolution and the contract that we have. We do have the 60-day out, so it gets us through that 2020 construction and into 2021 if we see something different. But again, I'm just trying to keep the resolution in front of you. I think that we're hearing loud and clear with some of the other feedback, and obviously Director Horn can send out the other information that has been sent to Alderman Bud Matts, now that you called yourself out. Sorry. But the same thing is, I think that just keeps things moving along on this process, and also make sure that 2020, which we're already in process with certain engineering and with certain grants, through that fruition.
Okay, so I want to ask Ms. Wolf here, what it means before we run through this vote, the impact that if we go through this vote on the motion to provide 3 months later competitive analysis and paint our engineering firm into perspective where we sit among other cities and what the rates and costs are, how does that factor with the voting? Should we pass that now? How does that factor in with Manager Krumstock's request to then kind of pull that component out, vote on solidifying a 3-year contract, and then revisiting that 3-month analysis in March back in matters on the agenda? How does it work? How is that gonna?
So this can be done both ways. I think what Manager Crumstock is suggesting is that it not be a part of the resolution, this actual motion, to require this cost comparison at the March Committee of the Whole, and it can be brought forward again on matters not on the agenda, and it's appropriate to do so there. The fact that this motion is not contingent on the approval of the resolution or approval of the contract, the motion to amend so that the staff, the resolution to dictate that the staff will provide a cost comparison is also okay as well. It doesn't make it the contract is not contingent on the staff's presentation of the cost comparison. So it's just a matter of how this council would like to do it. But, I have no, there's no legal difference. So if you rescind the motion to amend the resolution, so the resolution is considered as written here, and then bring it later at the, with respect to matters outside of the agenda, that's okay as well. So that's fine to do, and it has the same substance.
If it has the same substance, can we just leave it as is, run through it, and we'll take the roll call vote now on the issue? Does that mean we have to revisit it again, though it matters on the agenda, or it's already established?
I mean, technically what we have before us is a motion to amend the resolution, so with that requirement for the cost comparison. So there should probably be a rescinding of the resolution, or that motion to amend, and then you vote on the resolution as originally written, and then just remake that motion on matters not on the agenda.
Okay. Alderman Sonoyka.
Thank you for that clarification. In that case, then I, at this time, will rescind the motion and then bring it up later tonight for matters not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Do we need a second on the rescinding?
We do
or
need
is
the original second.
I do have the original second from Alderman O'Brien, who provided the second. I'm sorry? Alderman Diastis? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of different ones here.
I'll retract my second.
Okay, thank you. All right, well then we're gonna go back to the original resolution. Is there?
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
One other question or problem that I noticed in the past, when we approved this, we struck the line it would be on page 4 of Christopher Burke's contract. It says Christopher B. Burke Engineering reserves the right to increase these rates and costs by 5% after December 31st, 2009. So I noticed that we had removed that line or struck it out when we did this, so that we did have in fact a firm price, because it's obviously after that date, and we'd like to have a firm price that's not 5% higher than what's listed here.
Seconded.
So you're making a motion to have?
Yeah, I'm making a motion that we strike that line as we have previously done. And I can give you the dates where we've done that, but I know that for sure we did it in 2015, when actually in 2012 when it was approved, it was single-handedly written through. So we should just do it, because it muddies the water as far as what the cost is really going to be.
Okay, I'm giving staff a moment to identify it in their packets, so they.
Yeah,
Page
I found
page
it there.
4 of 4 on their letter to us on the rate sheet at the very bottom. It says that after the date of December the 31st, 2009, they can increase it by 5%.
Yeah, I have it. I agree with that. I think, as you notice, it says December 31st, 2009. It's probably just a template that they've used in the past. So I would agree with that. I don't think the engineer will have any problem with that.
So with that motion and a second, is there any further discussion from any councilman or woman? Alderman Veneziano.
So I know we've brought this up before with staff, just that this agreement is through the end of December, and it's now December 3rd, and it's coming to council. So if we can have contracts sooner come before council, so we're not feeling rushed and kind of put on the spot to have to make these decisions, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and now have the clerk call the roll on resolution number 19-R-129 with the resolution.
No
Or
striking.
the motion to strike.
Yes.
The first vote is on the motion to strike.
Right,
the
so
line on page 4.
what I was going to do is read the full resolution and then talk about the motion, the line item to be stricken, and then the clerk calling the vote. but I just did that in a very abridged version. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Sunoika?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Veneziano?
Yes.
Bessesi?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and unopposed, the resolution is adopted with the motion. So now we return to the original. And that is resolution number 19-R-129, approved city engineer services and compensation rates, 3-year contract, February 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2023. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Question on.
You have more, okay.
No, I'm just, the way the resolution is written, it says contracts for 1 year with 2 one-year renewals, and you just said a 3-year contract. So the way the resolution on 19R129 says it's a 1-year contract with 2 one-year renewals, and there's an important difference there.
Okay, so which one should we have on our agenda versus which one we're reading and which one we're voting on?
Well, what it says in our agenda under Resolution 19R129 is a 1-year contract with 2 one-year renewal options.
On the contract. Manager Crumstock?
So there's two parts. In the CAS, that's what part of it, but in the resolution, it does talk about through January 31st, 2023. And then on the Burke memo, or their letter, it actually talks about the 3 years being from February 1st, 2020 to 2023.
Do you have something to weigh in on? I appreciate it if you do. Ms. Wolf?
Manager Crumstock, I think maybe what Alderman Budmetz is referring to is the actual title of the resolution, where it refers to the 1 year with a 2 one-year annual renewal.
Okay. Which is the staff, but it doesn't have in the letter.
Correct.
My fear is, I'm sorry, Mayor, my fear is that a different resolution was used, like, as I said, like the landscaping one or something like that, and it was supposed to be a multi-year contract, so it is possible that that is an oversight, writing error.
Scrivener's error.
So it's a Scrivener's error with respect to the title, but the substance of the resolution is accurate. So they can make the technical amendment to, amend the title. The title can be corrected, but the substance of the resolution is accurate, so there's no need to amend the actual substance of the resolution. But the contract before you that you're considering is a 3-year contract.
So the way in which I read it is immaterial to the actual contract, which is immaterial to the vote. We'll just vote on having a multi-year contract. In this case, line item Q identifies it as a 3-year contract. And so at this time, I would like the clerk to please call the roll.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
No.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Veneziano?
Yes.
Bessesi?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Sunoika?
No.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, the resolution is adopted. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. That was a good one. Thank you. This now will move us on to other business and reports. The mayor at this time does not have any appointments, nor do I have any proclamations. City clerk have anything to report?
Nothing.
Thank you. That moves us forward to city staff reports. And city staff reports, first item number 1, community items of interest. Manager Crumstock.
So the first one is obviously this is the last week of yard waste collection. So again, it does finish this week. Rolling Meadows again has partnered with the United States Marine Corps Reserves for the Toys for Tot program. It does finish this Friday. We do leave the boxes out at the library if Saturday and Sunday you still have some donations. And obviously the Marine Corps will be here on Monday morning to pick up, and we do appreciate everybody who's donated, going to donate, and everybody else in there. We do want to remind people that the city, Swank, and Elgin Recycling are conducting our Holiday Light Recycling program. And again, the 2 boxes that are here at City Hall on the west side of the building, do not worry if they get completely filled. Elgin Recycling comes and dumps them and brings new boxes. This program does run until February 14th, 2020. Then we do want to mention what Mayor Gallo has mentioned. We do appreciate everybody who came to the first annual. We hope it's annual. Rolling Meadows Chamber of Commerce Roaming Santa Claus event that was held this Sunday. We had about 25 people at the Hallmark and about 45 to 50 at the Reps Place. We do appreciate both groups hosting Santa and Mrs. Claus. Obviously, we have some pictures that are out there too. We do appreciate it. Obviously, for people who miss Santa, he is coming back on Thursday. We'll have more about our 5th annual tree, I should say the December 5th tree lighting and the spaghetti dinner that comes later. Lori's working on our talk right now. And again, that is this Thursday. It starts at 6 p.m. and then the dinner starts at 6:30. Please come and enjoy the event. We are at the museum and at Willow Bend. And then we do want to mention on Saturday, December 7th, the Rolling Meadows Police Department will be conducting a food drive outside of Jewel Osco, located at 3000 Kirchhoff Road. You'll hear a little bit more about that between 10 and 2 p.m. Obviously, we've been mentioning that Chief Nowacki will be here with his dog, Penny. She's really well versed with putting on the sweater. The antler's not so good, but she's a great dog to meet, and obviously the biggest thing is please come out and donate. As we mentioned, and what the chief will mention again, is that we are using Palatine Food Pantry as our primary location that we are depositing any food that's collected, and then Elk Grove Township will actually be the secondary location that we are bringing stuff to. We do want to mention that the Rolling Meadows Police Department needs your help to spread some of the holiday joy to Rolling Meadows disadvantaged children. We do have a 4th annual Shop with a Cop. We will be at Walmart this year. We actually have less funds, and actually last year we did Myers and Walmart, but we do appreciate Walmart doing this again. If you would like to donate, please contact Chief Nowacki or see him. And what they are collecting are Walmart gift cards or money, and be appreciated if you could do that by noon on December 6th. And again, it does make it memorable and holiday joy for individuals and disadvantaged children throughout Rolling Meadows. We do want to mention that the City Hall and the city will be working with Vitalant, formerly known LifeSource, conducting a holiday blood drive on Wednesday, December 18th from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. here at City Hall. It's a great opportunity for residents to give the most wonderful gift of all, which is the gift of life, which is blood. Obviously, as you mentioned or have seen throughout City Hall, we do have the banners up announcing the blood drive. Vitalant does give donors a T-shirt. It's almost like that ugly sweater contest on the sweatshirt, or the T-shirt, I should say. But again, the biggest thing is donating blood. We do want to mention again that the 6th annual Police Department Social Media Holiday House Contest campaign is set to run through December 27th. Please make your nominations to the Police Department. We know that lights are already up. Obviously, if you have a friend, resident, you see something, please contact the Police Department. Obviously, police officers on patrol are also taking pictures. If you'd like to do anything, please go to the Rolling Meadows Facebook page. Obviously the police department one, and then if you have any questions about this, it's 847-255-2416. And then at a later date at a council meeting, we will be announcing who those winners are, but everybody is a winner if you just decorate and make it a little more festive. Obviously, the fire department is doing their Keep the Wreath Red. You'll hear more about that again. But again, it's in our annual project. And then obviously for the December e-news and views, you can find on the city web page. This is obviously the sister publication to the regular print news and views. And actually items that are in this current one deal with the city website, offering links to the Census 2020 information, the December 18th blood drive that I mentioned, holiday refuse collection schedule, and then convenient way to pay utility bills that are out there. With that, those are items of interest for this first Tuesday of December.
Thank you, Manager Krumstock. Moving this along, we're looking at the holiday light ceremony and dinner. Ms. Cizak?
Thank you, Mayor. The city's holiday celebration will take place this Thursday, December 5th. Ring in the holidays with 2 events in one evening. At 6 p.m., gather at the festive Rolling Meadows Historical Museum at 3100 Central Road for a joyful celebration with Santa Claus and special guests to light up the city's holiday tree. enjoy hot chocolate goodies, and take a retro tour of the Holiday Historical Museum. Then take a short walk or ride aboard a festive horse-drawn wagon to Willow Bend Elementary School at 4700 Barker Avenue to enjoy a complimentary spaghetti dinner while supplies last. Dinner hours will be from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Plan to visit and take pictures with Santa to top off the evening of holiday cheer. A special thanks to our event partners, the Rolling Meadows Community Events Foundation volunteers, Rolling Meadows Historical Society, Willow Bend School, School District 15, Rolling Meadows Senior Center Woodshop, Plum Creek Supportive Living, Trinity Lutheran Church, and the Rolling Meadows Park District. For more also the Rolling Meadows Chamber of Commerce. For more information, visit the city's website or call City Hall. We hope to see you all there.
Thank you. I always look forward to the tree lighting and the dinner. Another worthwhile cause is the food drive. Chief?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City Council. Yes, coming this Saturday, 10 to 2 is our annual food drive. It's our fourth time we're going to be doing it. It actually started, one of our officers was at one of the local food pantries 4 years ago on a call and noticed that the shelves were actually bare, and he inquired, and he goes, the individuals at the food pantry mentioned that, you know, donations have been down, and when he brought it to our attention, obviously that was unacceptable, so we reached out to the community, and the support we have received has just been overwhelming. Like I said, we tried to fill Humvee the first year, and like I said, it just exceeded our expectations, and we now get a U-Haul truck, so we're hoping to fill it this Saturday between 10 to 2, so I hope to see you out there.
That's phenomenal. That's great. Manager Crumstock, throwing it back to you for December 10th, 2019 Committee of the Whole draft agenda.
So obviously, we have 5 things that are tentatively planned. The creation of the fund balance policy for the garage fund, that's something that we mentioned to the alderman and the mayor as we discussed the budget. This would be a new fund balance as we create and continue with some of our funds. We will have the fire home safety inspection program, alderman seating arrangements on the dais, that will be from Alderman Diastis. Meacham Road, we will have a discussion about that. We did receive a letter from Schaumburg. That's a past discussion that's coming back again. And then sewer recapture discussion will be the 5th item that we have planned at this point in the draft.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to pause you before we get into the City Council draft agenda. You know, this council exists to discuss city business, which affects our financial standing and our operational effectiveness overall. Focusing on or discussing our seating is definitely not akin to that of city business. And in line with Alderman O'Brien, your comment from the resident that shared our professionalism, I think it's in our professional interest to discuss city matters and business that affect our longstanding. So at this time, I would like for somebody on the council to make a motion to remove the seating from our draft agenda for the Committee of the Whole.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Seconded.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Is there any discussion? Alderman Budmats?
Let's just call this, call the question to a vote.
Okay. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Budmats.
Yes to remove.
O'Brien.
No.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
No.
Sonoyka.
Yes.
Cannon.
No.
With 4 in favor and 3 opposed, it does pass with a simple majority.
Well, technically, yes, it does, because the question was called to a vote without any substantive debate. So the removal was passed. But Alderman Budmetz's request to call the question or move the question should have required a second and then a vote on that issue, technically. So
historically, when we had to call the vote, we didn't have a second before, and so we just followed traditional protocol. Is that,
I think technically the procedural rules, in order to call the vote immediately, would be a motion to call the previous question, which is the main motion.
okay.
So, you know, if we would like to correct the record, you know, does Alderman Budmetz's motion to call the vote have a second?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. To call for the previous question is what I intended to say, but however you'd like me to say it is just fine.
Okay,
And
and that motion.
to find a second to Alderman Budmetz's motion, is there a second to that motion?
Second, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Veneziano.
So that motion just calls it to the main question to a vote immediately. Okay?
In which we,
So now we're voting on calling the question, not really voting on the actual question of removal of the item from the agenda.
so would the clerk please call the roll on the question?
O'Brien.
No.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessesi.
So, that's a clarification question. Are we voting to basically eliminate discussion?
Correct.
No.
Diastis.
No.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Cannon.
No.
Budmetz.
Yes.
So now that's 3 in favor and 4 opposed.
Okay, so that motion to eliminate the discussion and vote immediately requires a 2/3 vote, so that would have needed 5 to vote. So now, the main question is the motion to remove the matter.
Okay, so we have a roll call vote to remove the matter at this time?
Technically, if there's any discussion, it can be had at this time. Otherwise, the vote on the motion to remove was a 4-3 vote.
Is there any discussion at this time? Alderman O'Brien.
I think the only discussion I'd like to make is if we feel as a council, I personally feel, and from the residents, it's a deeper underlying thing than how we sit. But if it is going to get out in the open, whatever past things might be going on, I'm 100% for discussing that so we don't waste more time going forward based on just the handful of feedback I've received. So it's more, my understanding from the residents, it's more about our professionalism amongst each other versus where anybody sits. But if it does take a 15-minute discussion or a 30-minute discussion on a committee of the whole, I'm for doing that to hopefully have this, whatever it is, behind us. And regardless of where we sit going forward, again, I'm open to wherever we sit. It's just, I think we've got to get some type of resolution because there seems to be something going on that's carrying over from the past. And that's what I've heard from residents. We've got to put that behind us and move forward professionally.
Further discussion? Alderman Diastis.
Thank you. I've heard the same thing. I've heard people say we have a 30-year history of seating, and why did it get changed? And I thought that it's best to bring it up and get it all out in the open once and for all. I agree with my colleague that if the council decides that seating needs to be changed, then the council can do that. Rather than get into a long dissertation this evening, I'd prefer to save it till the COW meeting, which is what it's meant to be, and get it all out on the table. So I think that we should allow the conversation to take place at the next COW meeting.
As chairman of this council, I believe this conversation puts more of a stain on us than any sort of advantage. Your behavior at the October 22nd, Alderman Diastis, your behavior at the October... Excuse me, do not interrupt the chairman. No, you don't interrupt the chairman at this time.
Point of order. Point of order is a parliamentary law and procedure. It is a matter raised during consideration of a motion concerning rules of parliamentary procedure.
Okay, so the ruling of the chair is that he declined your point of order.
And I'm declining the point of order because this behavior, one, was interrupting of an existing council meeting that had order. You interrupted out of place of your turn. You tried to influence another councilman's vote. It causes concern among our residents, and this is not a conversation that I wanted to have as a circus before our residents. And as chairman to keep order, I can adjust seating so there's no more call into question about eye signals, eye behavior, hidden messages, or whispering to one another. At this time, I'd like to call the vote.
So the vote has already been taken. This was a discussion. We can defer to the vote that was previously taken on the main motion, which was a motion to remove. There were 4 in favor of removing, 3 against removing, so the matter will be removed from the committee of the whole agenda.
Thank you. Manager Crumstock, if we can go ahead and continue with the December 17th, 2019 City Council draft agenda.
So a reminder to everybody, we do have an expedited council meeting. That's why we're on the 17th. We do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. That's why we're not here on the 24th. But we do have, obviously, the award of the contract for Lot 5 drainage that was postponed to give Public Works a little additional time. That is back for that resolution. We do have the second reading for the disposal of surplus vehicles and equipment. We do have the second reading for, obviously, amend the city code and ordinances to prohibit the sale and possession of cannabis except as provided in the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act to take effect January 1st, 2020. We have to pay our bills. Obviously, this is the end of December. Then we have the authorize the purchase of 13 VHF mobile radios for the police department. Fire department. We have authorized Weber Drive Phase 1 engineering services. We have the authorization for intergovernmental agreement on Algonquin Road, New Wilkie Phase 1 engineering. This is for a right turn lane. We have authorized Brookwood Sunset Sanitary Sewer engineering services except Arbor Drive easement, so we can complete on the curb on the west end of the project. We have approved Arbor Drive design engineering. We have a award a contract for red light photo enforcement. And then we have award IDOT hold harmless right-of-way agreement, and this is our annual. We do need to get this approved. And then we have community items of interest, new businesses. And then we'll probably have a closed session regarding a memo that I gave to the council tonight. So be aware that's one that I'm working on. So.
Wonderful, thank you. And then Alderman Sonoyka, we have to revisit the pushing of 3 months' time for Director Horn and Christopher Burke Engineering at this time. Do we have to go through an official formal roll call vote for that as well? Or
Yes,
how are
I
we
would do
gonna-
a motion and a second and a vote on that.
Okay, so I'd like you to lead with your original motion and we'll look for a second on it.
Okay, I would like to bring back my original motion, which compared retainers and rates, and then also including Alderman Budmat's request for municipal comparisons with other services that Christopher Burke Engineering also utilizes. Or, I'm sorry, serves.
Is there a second to Alderman Sonoyka's motion? Thank you, Alderman Budmats, for the second. Is there discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bessesi.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Sonoyka.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this does move forward. Are there any other matters not on the agenda? Is there a who does? Alderman O'Brien,
Just
hand
real
up
quickly,
high.
Right. I was just going to make a request. I know we've got a full December, but for maybe for January, February, we could revisit based on a couple of resident inquiries. I know enforcement's one thing, but the current leash laws from the Park District and things like that, just if we could spend a little bit of time on that. One of the residents did take the time to potentially redraft how the ordinances could be. So if we could, I don't think it's an urgent one for December, January, but just early next year if we could.
Yeah, Alderman O'Brien, we do have that scheduled from our conversation, and as you said before, it's hard to enforce,
Yep.
but we will have another discussion over here.
Great, thank you.
Alderman Sonoyka.
I would just like to let residents know that they can now visit 2020census.gov and apply for census tracker part-time jobs. This is a rate that starts at about $17.50 for our area and then goes up. Y para todos que hablan español, también hay una oportunidad que paga un poco más. So for those who speak other languages, you can also receive additional money if you speak a language that we also utilize in our community. It's 118 days until April 1st, the day of the census. If you want to get involved as a volunteer, you can also join the Rolling Meadows Complete Count Committee. Feel free to email me at ward7@cityrm.org or speak with the mayor if you are interested in that type of volunteer opportunity. We do also accept high school students as well if they're interested in getting involved and getting service hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Um,
Don't even have to recognize you. What's up, Alderman Bessetti?
Yes, just want to mention again, I'm going to have a town hall on January 16th at 7 o'clock upstairs at the library. One of the topics will be regarding the construction in Ward 5. Director Horn has said that someone will be there, if not himself, because there's still a large amount of it to happen within the ward, and I wanted to give more opportunities for people to be appraised of what they'll be seeing next year.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Veneziano. Is there a second? Thank you, Alderman Bud Matts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? This meeting is adjourned.